let's talk about putting Ptolus, the city by the spire, in a campaign setting other than the Monty Cook game's awesomely generated Pramael. Maybe you don't want to use everything that Monty built into Pramael. Maybe you don't like certain aspects of it. I've got other videos talking about the prison plane and things like that. Or maybe you just want to have a better fleshed out campaign setting for everything around Ptolus. Well, the two biggest campaign settings are the world of the Forgotten Realms and the world of Eberron. I've done a little research, a little reading online, and I might even hint at some of my campaign setting long-term goals for my own game. And I figured I'd share those with you because probably some other people have these same questions. So first, let's jump over and look at the city of Ptolus. You know that Ptolus is a coastal town. You've got the Bay of Ptolus here on the side. Well, if you ever have read through the player's guide, you will notice that you can look at the outside the city section, and here is the map of what is known to the Empire, right? Obviously, Pramael is bigger than this. Not everything is mapped out. This is what Monty Cook Games provided us with. Here's the city of Ptolus right here on the Bay of Ptolus. Now, we know things about the weather of Ptolus. We know some things about the outside areas of Ptolus. Ptolus is mostly a moderate climate, but there's a lot of rain. And then there's obviously farming and everything outside the big city, just like any other big city needs, right? You have to have farmers to promote everything. And then the big function being the Bay of Ptolus. When we start looking at places that you can put this in the Forgotten Realms and in Eberron, the first thing that you have to decide is whether you're going to replace an existing city or you want to find an empty space that you want to put Ptolus where no city was there before. And then you've got the option of, has it always been there? Or, a hint at what I'm planning on doing, it's going to appear out of nowhere. Now, those are options that are going to be left up to you. I'm not going to make a value judgment on which way is better or not better, right? The decision that I have decided to make is eventually I want Ptolus to be in the Forgotten Realms. And my goal is actually going to be to sort of replace a city, but my goal with that is that that city was basically never there, and then all of a sudden Ptolus is. That's the choice that I've decided to make. You're going to have to decide whatever's best for your game. So I've done the most research on the Forgotten Realms. Where I'm going to put it, that's where I've spent most of my time reading. That's the campaign setting I'm the most well-versed in, as well are my players. So that's what we've decided to do long term. I don't have it all mapped out yet. Hopefully I'll get to keep sharing that with you folks as we move forward. But what I have decided is going to work out the best for our campaign setting is to put our Ptolus in the Sea of Fallen Stars in the place of a small city called Procampur. Basically researching the surrounding areas, researching the weather patterns and everything else, this is going to be where we're going to have Ptolus eventually appear. Again, if you watch the video on the prison plane, players, I urge you not to do that unless your DM says it's okay. And I don't want to give any spoilers here, but basically what we're going to have is our city will eventually transport out of Pramael and will show up here in the Forgotten Realms in the place of Procampur. The way I'm going to run our game is Procampur will never have existed before, and now all of a sudden Ptolus will show up there. So they're going to go through this whole thing where they believe the Empire is out there, you know, all of this world-shattering, changing stuff has gone about, and then they're going to have to start sending people out and discover the world is completely different than what it was before. Procampur is what I've decided for myself in the Forgotten Realms. It's on the Sea of Fallen Stars. It's got a very similar climate and stuff like that, and then with the mountains up here, I thought the Spire would work really well right in that location. I'll put a link to the actual listing from the Forgotten Realms wiki about Procampur if you want to read about that. I also feel like it's a pretty good fit with some of the other things around that area. Next, one of the other options is in the world of Eberron. And this is called, I believe, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, the Lahazar Principalities. Again, I'll put a link to this to the Eberron wiki, but this is another area where you can put it on this coastal region. The basically weather patterns and things like that are very, very similar. And with this, you also don't have to replace an existing city, right? You would be able to put it out at the edge of this peninsula, essentially, and then you've got islands and stuff like that. It could feel very much the same. One more option, if you're thinking about Faerun, if you're thinking about the Forgotten Realms, several people have mentioned that the Sea of Swords would also be a good location for this. I've decided not to do this simply because this area is so developed, has been written about so much, and so many things have happened here. If you read the books from R.A. Salvatore about Drizzt, they have talked about Luskan, Neverwinter, Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, right? All the way down this coast. There's been so much stuff that has happened here. I did not feel like it would be a very good fit for us to all of a sudden put Ptolus in there. So again, that's where we came up with Procampur. You've got a ton of different options. Obviously, this is one idea. There's many more that you can explore. I would love to hear your all's ideas about where you might be deciding to put this, maybe a completely different campaign setting, whatever. I always love hearing your all's ideas. Something else to share, this is actually from our Discord channel. So if you haven't joined our Discord channel yet, please do. I am trying to figure out the best way to take all of the awesome ideas that the narrators in there are sharing and get those back out to everybody else who can't maybe keep up with the conversation. One of our Discord users, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, is Balevarson. I'll put a link to this in there. And he actually mentioned that he ran a Pramael campaign around like the Icewind Dale area. Again, this has been so well developed around Drizzt that I decided to avoid that, but this is the way he decided to do it. He basically had the Empire stop at the pass into Icewind Dale and made that kind of like a lawless area. So he kept the concept of the Empire from the whole Monty Cook game system. So then he made Pramael like the origin plane, right? Like where everything started. From that, some of his ideas were he used the Githyanki and then the Githzeri and basically tied them all into the Gith race. And then he used them as the barbarians who were actually plaguing the Empire. So then if you go back into his Gith history, they were former slave race of the Illithids. The Illithids actually are servants of the Galkut, which are like the power behind his empire. And then that's part of the reasons why like the barbarians are raging and things like that. Very, very interesting stuff. Please join us on the Discord if you haven't already. Please share your ideas here. What do you think of Procampur? What do you think of the Sea of Fallen Stars? What do you think of the Lahazar Principalities? All different ideas and options that are in here, and it's your game, right? So you can't do it wrong, but we'd love to hear about it. And you can also start reading, I'm sharing more and more of the play-by-post things from my own game. Our game is completely play-by-post. We never sit down face-to-face, and so all of that writing I am making available through the website. If you go to the website and you go to the home page, if you scroll down here, you'll see all the videos that I've shared before, which you can find on YouTube. You've subscribed, right? And then right beneath that is the Ptolus campaign journals. So if you click on this, it takes you through and you can read through all of those. If they're interesting or not, that would probably take a really long time. If you do wind up reading those, please let me know what your thoughts are, because I'm always curious about feedback. Even if it's bad, I don't care. I'd love to hear some more of what you guys have to say. All right, that's all for today. Hopefully this is a relatively short video. You can play in Pramael, which is what Monty Cook envisioned. You can put Ptolus in Forgotten Realms, in the Eberron campaign setting, or anywhere else. Let us know what you decide to do. And again, I took this from one of our Discord users and that have joined the website, but I love this catchphrase, and it's may you always stay out of the shadow of the spire. Have an awesome day, everybody.